Hello everyone, it's Isaac here, back with another video, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over more complicated stream settings. I made a video a while ago just about settings I think you should use when you record and helping optimize your computer for streaming. Now I'm going to be the tech nerd that I am, and I'm going to go a little bit more in depth, not too much in depth because I don't want to confuse anybody, but yes, this is for people who really want to get into streaming, maybe not just Nitro Type, but other platforms as well. These are going to be OBS settings, so you're not going to see too many, actually, you're not going to see any settings for other recording. I'm going to scoot my mic forward a little bit just so you can hear me a little better. And we're going to open up OBS. Yeah, so this is OBS. I know it looks complicated. It's not that bad. First things first, we don't even have to open up settings. Just make sure you have a good scene, really easy to set up. You add another scene with plus, then you can add all sorts of stuff with it, microphone, audio output capture, browser, color source, display capture, game capture, image slideshow, media source, scene, text, video capture, and window capture. Please don't use window capture, because it makes a yellow line around your screen. At least it does that for me. But yeah, I recommend that if you're going to do streaming, especially Nitro Type, and you leave your tabs open regularly, crop out the bottom and the top. That way they get more Nitro Type. That's what I did with my old streaming scene. In my new one, I just go into full screen mode when I erase. It's easier that way. But yeah, that's a first not so complicated stream setting thing. Make sure your scenes are set up correctly. Another thing you can do, head on over to our audio mixer. Now I'm not a huge sound expert, but I do know my stuff when it comes to blending your maybe background music. That's what I use. I use background music with your desktop audio mic. Make sure that you can hear your mic and desktop audio. Now you can download a virtual cable, but I don't really want to go into that, and I don't need a virtual cable, and nobody here really does. So if you really want to control desktop audio, just maybe do a whole bunch of recordings like I have, and make sure to test it out. Like I have a whole bunch of private recordings that I didn't upload that are quite literally me just testing to make sure my background audio isn't too loud or too soft while I talk. For these, you don't have to worry about this too much. For these, I'll get into that in a second. We go into settings. Okay, general, don't mess with this stuff. I know I said today was going to be more complicated settings, but don't mess with this stuff. Stream, make sure that when you install OBS, it took me longer than normal to get my stream started yesterday, because it was trying to upload to Twitch automatically, and I was trying to get to YouTube, and it wasn't receiving any data from my streaming platform, which was a little odd. So, make sure to YouTube, primary YouTube ingest server. You can also do other ones. Backup YouTube ingest server. If this one's really bad, you can end the stream and try the other one. Sometimes that server is really clogged. You can connect an account. I'm not going to show how to do that because it's really self-explanatory. And then use a stream key. I use a stream key because it's easier. You basically go to your YouTube studio, hit live, hit go live now, and then it will show you a stream key. Make sure not to give that stream key away, because people will get it and they will stream on your channel from their account, and you don't want that. Go to output. This is where stuff gets complicated, and of course it's in simple mode. So I can't go into complex mode right now. That's what I prefer to do. But, actually I'm going to see if I can't change that. I'll try to describe it the best I can. So simple mode, this is going to completely depend on what you want to stream at, your internet upload. Check your internet upload. It needs to be above 2 megabits per second if you want to stream comfortably. I recommend at least above 1 megabit per second. Upload, not download. Download doesn't matter all that much. Upload is what matters for streaming. For instance, my internet upload is typically 3.5 megabits per second. That may not sound very fast, but that actually is just fine. And I'm typically only utilizing about 2 of that when I'm streaming. I stream at 720p, 30 FPS. For Nitro Type, don't stream 60 FPS unless you have the internet upload to do it, and you have a computer that's decently powerful. I could do 1080p, 60 FPS streaming if I wanted to, with my computer, but my internet would not let me do that, which is fine. I don't need to do 1080p, 60 FPS. But yes, I recommend for streaming, you use about 2,000 kilobits. I think it's kilobits per second. They're not using kilobytes. Kilobits per second for stream. I do 2050 just for the extra headroom. It helps a little bit. Audio bitrate, you get your choice between a whole bunch of them actually. You can go up to like 300. No, just 320. You don't need 320. I do 128. That's just fine for me. I can probably go down to 96 and nobody would notice. Maybe some people would notice. I actually didn't even realize I was using NVENC yesterday. I thought I was using X264. Yeah, but if you have a good internet upload speed and you have an NVIDIA GPU like I do, I have an RTX 2060, as you can see by this little NVIDIA thing down here, NVENC is pretty good. I don't recommend that if you don't have a decent internet upload speed, because with NVENC it is pretty inefficient. It is quick, it takes no load on your system pretty much, but it is inefficient, meaning the file size is going to be much larger, which is why I recommend doing X264 like I have for recording, because that data size is smaller. In fact, I'm going to, after this video, change it to NVENC, from NVENC to X264, because that would be easier in my internet probably. But yeah, I recommend NVENC if you have really fast internet, but if you have normal internet like me, which is, I'm not complaining, my internet's fine, use X264, it's going to be better. It's going to look pretty much the exact same, only the very specific people are going to notice it. So I recommend using NVENC unless you have normal internet, and then just use X264. You really don't need advanced encoder settings. You can, but I don't see a reason to. So for recording, this isn't a recording video, so I'm not going over that, but for output mode, I'm going to cover complex, or whatever they call it now, which, like they say, it's a bit more complex, but I recommend using CRF for the rate control, and for streaming, I do 25. That is just fine. That's, the higher the number it is, the lower the quality is. So 25 isn't terribly high quality, but it doesn't need to be. This is Nitro Type. This isn't like some sort of game where it's like all aesthetic and you have to really appreciate the game, or I guess the game aesthetics to appreciate the game. This is Nitro Type. You don't need anything crazy high end. Same thing with recording. Now I know I'm gonna give a tip on recording actually. If you're going to record your videos and you have a PC that crashes, use MKV, because MKV saves the video up until you crash. With MP4 it doesn't. If you crash, the video's gone. You're never getting it back. So I use MP4 because this computer really doesn't crash that much. It's crashed maybe once, and that was opening OBS, and the computer didn't crash, OBS did. And it just said, oops, OBS crashed. I'm like, okay, rebooted it, it was fine. That happens even on good computers. So make sure that you're using MKV if you have a computer that crashes a lot, but if you have a good computer like me, you don't need to worry about it. For audio, don't mess with this. There is no reason to mess with this. Video, like I said, put the base canvas resolution as your monitor's resolution. So if you have a 1080p monitor, 1920 by 1080. If it's 1440p, gosh, what is that, like 25 something, 2150 by 1440. Put it at that. Output, for Nitro Type, you probably don't need anything higher than 720p. You can go 1080p. But keep in mind, not very many of your viewers are probably going to load your stream in 1080p. So, I wouldn't worry about that. But yes, this will control what resolution you stream and record at, I'm pretty sure, because this is just video. In the advanced settings and output, you can change the stream resolution to something different. I'm not sure, I haven't visited that in a while. For Nitro Type, excuse me, you really only need 30 FPS. You can go 60 if you want to. It's way smoother, but not a ton of people are really going to notice. I will notice, but not everyone does. I don't think it's worth it. For hotkeys, these are very important. For start recording, whatever you want, make sure it's not a keyboard command already. For instance, for the longest time for starting recording, I used Control-Shift. That was a bad idea because I accidentally started recording during my stream once, and that was on my old PC. So my PC was lagging like crazy, and I'm like, what is going on? And it turns out I was recording and streaming at the same time because I did Shift-Control-T to open a tab I had closed. So yes, make sure it's something that isn't a keyboard command. I use Control and then like the backslash. I like using that because that's not a keyboard command and it's relatively easy to do on a keyboard. My laptop keyboard not so much because those are a little farther out. But my mechanical, super easy. I do it on my laptop anyway because it's quieter. For stop recording, Alt backspace is just fine. Excuse me. Sorry about my yawning today. I'm always tired on Sunday. But yeah, Alt backspace is pretty good. You don't really need one for pause and unpause. You can. It's probably pretty helpful, but for me it's not. For streaming, there should be something in here to start and stop streaming. Yeah, right at the top. I'm used to an older version of OBS where that comes after recording. But yes, you don't need one for streaming. I don't think you do. It's just, it doesn't matter. Because like, if you stream like I do, for the first solid 2 or 3 minutes of the stream, my mic is muted. I have a overlay on. It's like stream starting soon, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. It's super easy. I don't know why people make OBS sound like it's so hard to run. It really isn't. It's super easy to use once you know what you're doing. But yeah, you don't really need macros for starting and stopping streaming, and obviously there is no pause streaming. That's the whole thing about live streaming. But yeah, you don't need key macros for that. Just make sure you remember yours, and sometimes I'll accidentally hit them wrong and record a video without realizing that I didn't actually record the video. So I'll just hit apply. And close out of it. And yeah. So now I'm going to show you how to do overlays, and this is really easy. I'm not going to go into complex. I'm not going to show you how to make one. I'm going to show you how to add it. So if I go to my live streaming scene, actually I'm not going to do that because that might end my video. If I wanted to add stream starting soon, hit add, hit image, add existing, and I've already added these in. But basically, if you don't have one, you can just make new, name it, hit OK, and then hit browse. It'll pop up, and you hit browse. It's like right in the middle. It's really hard to miss. And then you go through your file explorer down here, you find it, click on it, and it'll add it. It's really easy. So if I just want to say stream starting soon, I can add that. I'm not going to because that would put that over my video recording. But yeah, really easy to do that. You can make like custom animated stuff, and you can go into like your YouTube studio. Man, I'm yawning a lot today. You can go to your YouTube studio, you can hit pop out chat, get the browser address for it, put it back in, and then you can actually add a browser source. I don't recommend doing that, it's not worth it. I know Star Wars Freak does it, and it's pretty cool. But if you have a computer that can't quite handle all that sort of overlays for streaming, there is no need to add any sort of animated overlays. There are apps you can use that will get you overlays, and even if you have a good computer, I still recommend the non-animated versions because they always come with animated and non-animated versions of them. I would just do the non-animated ones. They're just going to be easier to run, and nobody's really going to care. There might be some people that care, and if that's for you, then yeah, add the animated ones, but I wouldn't. That is pretty much it for today's video today. I don't know why I have 3 microphones in here. That's kind of weird. But yeah, I will close out of this. Other than that, I can't really think of anything to use. Just make sure your, I can't think of anything to say, excuse me. Make sure your temperatures are in check. Make sure your CPU or your GPU, depending on what you're using, isn't maxed out. If you're using your GPU doing code, it should never get more than like 5% usage specifically to OBS. It might be more than that if you're doing a game. If you're running a slower PC and OBS is not getting the resources it needs to stream, you can always go into your Windows settings and change OBS to Administrator so that it gets all the resources first. If you have a Lenovo Legion gaming laptop like I do, you can go, this is non-sponsored by the way, you can go into your Advanced software. I'm not going to do that because that reveals stuff. But yeah, open it up, go to Network Boost, add OBS to it, and turn it on, and that should give you a little bit of an upload boost if your internet is a little slow. But yeah, make sure your cooling's good, make sure your CPU usage isn't maxing out, and make sure that your internet upload is sufficient. Other than that, I can't really think of anything to say. Hopefully these helped. I know it was a little scatterbrained, I know it was all over the place, but I did go more in depth than I did last video. I briefly mentioned most of these things in the last video, but I didn't really explain anything. So I figured I'd do a more in-depth video. But yeah, I think we've had enough of this video. It's been going on for a while now. Goodbye, everyone.